We are officially recording to the cloud.
Thank you very much. Morning, everybody. This is Rob Benchley. Welcome to the August 2nd, 2021 meeting of the Sconset Advisory Board. I'm going to call a roll for our members and let's see, answer when I call your name, please. Clement Durkees.
Here.
Thank you. Mary Lathrop Will, I do not believe is going to make it today. Caroline Ellis.
Here.
Thank you. Rob Benchley is here. Angus MacLeod.
Here.
Thank you very much. I'll take a motion. The first order of business to the adoption of the agenda is presented.
So moved.
Thank you very much. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
There's
Aye.
one. Thank you, Angus. Caroline.
Aye.
Thank you. Rob is an aye. And I'll take a motion to for approval of the minutes from July 19th, the approval of our comments from July 19th.
So moved.
Thank you. All those in favor, I'll call you by name. Clement Durkees,
Aye.
Caroline Ellis,
Aye.
Angus MacLeod for
Aye.
the first section. Thank you. And Rob Benchley is an aye. Thank you very much. Before we get going, I have a one of our agenda items under new business. The Amos Hostetter 58 Baxter Road application has been held pending a completer application. So we will possibly hear that next week. All right, thank you very much. I see there are a lot of people here. We're going to proceed with first item on the agenda is 5 Bunker Hill.
It's 7 Bunker Hill.
I'm sorry. Oh, it's 5 Bunker Hill LLC at 7 Bunker Hill Road. Thank you. And I believe this is the same site that was proposed a few weeks ago for the Main Street barn, and that is no longer part of this application. And if there's anybody here from the applicant, Mr. Topham.
I am not seeing Joe Topham here right now, actually.
Okay, well, then I'm going to ask everybody if we can hold this and move on to old business, that 8 Bank Street. I see there are a lot of people here that may or may not want to speak to it. And I guess that means that Angus is going to have to recuse himself. And Angus, would you mind just going over quickly your most recent proposal? That'd be great.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There are 2 things prior to this I want to ask about, just clarification about the 2 other applications.
Yeah.
The one on Baxter, I noticed that there wasn't a window schedule. I don't know if that's why it's being held, but if that's not one of the reasons, could that get added onto the list, please? And then Bunker Hill, I didn't see any changes from the original that we looked at, except that it's a new building instead of the reuse of the barn from 28 Main Street. So I just wanted to see if there were any revisions on that. I think we had brought up there moving the pool away from the street and less hardscaping and so forth.
Angus, I don't believe the pool application has any new revisions. It's here again because the new dwelling was being brought back. And I was told that there are changes, but without the applicant here, I really can't speak to it. So as the chair said, I would just kind of hold them off until you're done with 8 Bank Street. And then hopefully by then Joe has joined and we can go from there.
Great, thanks, Kadeem.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kadeem. Thanks, Angus.
Okay. So after reducing the roof mass to 2/3 of the original proposal, we went for the HDC, and they were just looking for it to be reduced in any height possible. So we're going with a mud sill and dropping the floor and massaging some of the plates, the head height to a minimum in the top. So we've reduced the remaining 2/3 of that overall height by a foot. And that's what's presented.
Yeah, really.
Pretty much everything, this is Rob, pretty much everything else is the same, Angus?
Pretty much. I mean, with the drop in height, that sort of moved everything proportionally. So it couldn't just happen in a vacuum. So other things were shifted a little bit, but like in this gable end, the windows were dropped a little bit in order to facilitate the drop in the roof. And of course, the dormer drop with it. So yeah, and the same on the west elevation there. Before there was more room between the eave and the grade. So now that window that was there before has just dropped with the roof to just about to the foundation.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm going to ask any participants in the hearing, not from the SAB, from the advisory board, if they would like to speak, please identify yourself and recognize that this is a Zoom meeting, and I can't really have people talking all at the same time. Also, please keep in mind that we are an advisory board and we make suggestions on these applications, all of them, to the greater HDC Commission itself. And we're really only looking at the design aspects. So please keep that in mind. If anybody would like to raise their hand verbally, that would be great. And state your name and have at it. Thank you.
Should I go first? Kathy Arve?
Kathy Arve, go ahead.
Oh, I was on the last meeting and I think I verbalized how I felt about it. I thought the design was way too tall for that area. I know you're only interested in design. There's a lot of concern about the bank. We're all very concerned about digging a basement that large. I mean, it's a very deep basement on such a small lot right against the bank. And, you know, worried about the access, the emergency access road. And the design, I'm just, you know, thinking the houses and the property is just such a small spot right against the bank is going to destroy the look of you know, Middle Gully Road. So that's my opinion.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, just taking some notes here.
Mr. Chair, I saw Lynn Filipsky would like to speak.
Okay. Lynn, please proceed.
Yes, I just unmuted myself. The board of the Civic Association acted affirmatively on a letter that Gail Walker produced that hits 4 major points, but in relation for the SAB, What we're most concerned about is the building in relation to the land and the structures in the vicinity. So from a historical standpoint, we just feel that it's very hard to look at the renovation, although beautiful, but you're looking at a historic building that's worth preserving. And to the extent that it's being altered, I think you lose that structure. It used to be a fisherman's shack that was built in the 1800s and then became a shop later for the community. So it's very unique within Codfish Park. And it's one of the few houses in the area that still is referred to in historical documents and tourism magazines and photographs that are used in books on Sconset, including your own book, Rob. We obviously feel that the visual impact is quite significant for that area, whether you're on Front Street looking down Middle Gully Road or you're at the beach looking back up. So we are losing a key component of what Codfish Park was, which were fishermen cottages. And they are historic, and we just feel that this is really something that it's the only house that's on the bank side of the street, wedged in where other houses have more room, less obstructions. Obviously, Middle Gully Road, this is an engineering problem that will be decided by the building department, obviously, but you have trees and scenarios that just change the entire look of Codfish Park based on Angus's drawings. So our recommendation is to not approve the drawings as is. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
I'm curious to see if Lynn was here speaking for a group or speaking just for herself, just for my notes or the minutes, really.
Hold on. I am speaking for the Sconset Civic Association.
Thank you
For the
very much,
board.
Lynn.
Thank you.
Chair, this is Shai Gazani. May I make a comment?
yes, please, go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. So my name is Shai Gazani, and my wife, Michelle Rosen, is participating as well. We are new, relatively new residents of Codfish Park for the past several years. And I think our comment is really just reinforcing what others have said. We believe that the historical context of the building will be significantly altered. And in particular, we think that the two-story design is really overbearing for what is in a very, very small plot and will really fundamentally alter that aspect of Codfish Park and hurt both the historical and kind of the current appeal of the area. So we hope that will be taken into consideration. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Rob, I had asked through chat if I may speak when it's time.
Okay, if you identify yourself, that'd be great.
Hi, I'm Kathy Anselmi, and I've been a resident or owner in Codfish Park since 1990. And this cottage, Tours End, was in Gail's family for 8 generations prior to the sale of this cottage. And as we know, it has significant historic value and significance to not only Codfish Park, but the historic district of Sconset. And I think it was included in the historic district when Sconset was redistricted. So this is, a lovely drawing, but this cottage is the way the proposal is just ectopic. It does not belong in Codfish Park. It disturbs the infrastructure and the wall. and the sand and the soil and the tree that's holding up this very fragile bluff. And as we know, it is very fragile. And I want to echo everything that Lynn has said. I'm a member of the civic organization as well, association as well. But lastly, many of us are down here aging in place, and we need access. And this building is out of scale, and it would impede access should there be an emergency. And I'm very concerned about that. And thank you for listening. I appreciate it. I appreciate all the work that the board is doing.
Seem to be unmuted. There we go. Thank you, Kathy, for that. This is Rob. I'm going to ask a general question. Maybe Angus can answer it. Am I correct that the building that is there currently is not the original building?
That's correct. There have been many iterations, and I've got, I have some photos that I just sent to Kadeem. I'm not sure if you can pull those up, but I was going to wait till the comments were finished and then go through those.
Okay. All right. Well, before we do that, I see George Hubbs has his hand up.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, I did
Please
make
go
a
ahead.
comment at the last meeting. I'm George Hubbs. I live at 20 Broadway. First of all, based on historic pictures and so on, the revised plan clearly is not in keeping with the historic size of the current or former buildings on the lot. Definitely not. In fact, the plan, although well constructed, that is well drawn, looks like it's an attempt to put 3-bedroom house where it requires mass that is much bigger than historically was there, in addition to being the only house built into the bank. So not only does the plan not comport with the historic buildings that were on the lot, it's trying to be a bigger structure and with greater mass than the location would call for. So my suggestion would be either that the maximum height of this structure be limited to the bank height or less, or that the applicant be asked to try to design a building that uses more of the land horizontally, for instance, with 0 setbacks, and therefore the mass vertically is reduced. Yeah, I believe it's the vertical mass that is the major concern of most of the people I'm hearing. And so those are my comments.
Thank you very much. Anybody else before I turn this back to Angus to answer some of those questions?
Rob, I'd like to talk.
Okay, please do. Whoever you,
Hi, good morning. Margaret Van Dusen, 7
Okay.
Front Street.
right.
I'll be brief because I feel like I said a lot at the last SAB meeting about this, but lowering the roof line by 1 foot is not really, I think, responsive to the HDC. It's a building that is still doubling in height right up against the bank. And it's a perspective and grade issue there on why we believe it will absolutely affect both Middle Gully and Front Street and the view sheds, the public view sheds that are there. It also sets a terrible precedent in Codfish Park because everyone is going to want to double the heights of these what were historically small beach cottages down on the flats there. Just in terms of sort of the goals of the Sconset Advisory Committee, or board. It's really to preserve the integrity and sense of scale and proportion of the historic structures and the village streetscapes of Sconset. So while I know you are focusing on the design elements of this particular house, I guess I would urge you to look at this in the greater context of what those streetscapes are and how this will affect it. Thank you.
Well said.
All right, thank you very much, Margaret. Boy,
Director, Rob,
yeah.
Ann Maletta,
Hi, Ann Maletta.
is it permissible to make a comment?
Please do.
I find that the building that has been designed is charming, and it seeks to nestle away in a different environment. It would be absolutely a perfect house, but in giving the location and the precedence before it, I worry about the 1 foot drop, and I concur with Margaret, but for different reasons. I feel that 1 foot drop during construction is going to disappear. And I think that that's an issue that needs to be addressed, because so many homes around have their footings put in, but then they build up on top of the footings. So 1 foot, 18 inches, 2 feet disappear in the blink of an eye. So I would like to address that issue. And I think that should this go forward, there has to be some very vigilant monitoring of height. And I agree with Lynn Filipski, and I have already written a letter to address my concerns last week. So I thank you.
All right, Ms. Maletta, thank you for that. I don't think I agree with your sentiment in terms of, I hope I'm speaking out of turn, but to pre-assume that somebody's going to do something illegal is not something that we're talking about here. So.
Oh, I'm not saying that it's going to happen illegally. I'm
Correct.
just these
Okay.
things happen.
Gotcha. Thank you. All right, anybody else?
Rob, just one quick comment. Joe Arve.
Hi, Joe.
Street. Hi, Rob. Kathy tells me I wasn't at the last meeting, but I want to reiterate or ask actually whether there will be some type of environmental study with regard to a negative impact on the integrity of the bank itself, just by virtue of digging out a sizable basement.
I can answer that only by saying that I'm sure will be addressed. I'm not speaking for the applicant, just in general, but obviously because it has to. So, but thank you for that question, and that will be answered.
Thanks, Rob.
Yep. Okay. Angus, you said you had some photographs, and I had asked about the history of the structure, because some of the comments seem to think this is the original building. I don't know.
Since Joe Arve just got on, I'd like to read a quote. When I reached out to the neighbors who I knew personally back in April when we were about to present this to the HDC, is that this is a quote: "Your depiction is quite handsome for Codfish Park." So I don't know at what point there was a real turn in the sentiment about the design and appropriateness for this location. But if we could go to the pictures. Thanks so much, Kadeem.
Give me 1 second, Angus. I just want to get them saved so I can open them up full screen. Okay, I'll be right with you.
Perfect. George, you're familiar with the work that we did at Heartsease, where we had a working street on both sides of the house and other houses on either side of that. Anyone who knows my work in Sconset for the past 2 decades knows that that the utmost care goes into preservation, saving the heights, documenting everything and enhancing what exists. So I hope that everyone involved, has total confidence in this project being no different from all the others that I've had in Sconset, and actually received preservation awards from the Sconset, but also the Nantucket Preservation Trust.
Angus, there are more photos than I thought, so I'm just going to go ahead and scroll through them this way. Just let me know where you'd like me to go.
You could start with this one. So there has been discussion about the stability of the path and the trees, both of which are not part of the purview of the Sconset Advisory Board or the HDC, but just a perspective. This is an earlier shot showing the trees that were existing there until the RVs cut them down, I think in January, February. You could go to the next picture. Scroll down a little bit. So there are the stumps of the trees. So the one tree that's left is, highlighted because 3 of the 4 were cut away. You can go to the next one. So here's one of the buildings that was there. You can see 8 Bank Street. It was a much longer building than exists today. I'm not sure that we could actually sprawl that much as I think George suggested, of having a longer, lower footprint. It's not feasible. You can go to the next one. Thanks, Kadeem. Here's another version of what was there, a smaller one. And you can see that the bank is there. Speaking of view, everything up on Front Street beyond that, this is before eastward look up to the left of 8 Bank Street was enlarged, and before the cottage up to the right, where the RV's house is now, was removed to build their house, which blocks quite a view from Front Street. You can go to the next one.
Gosh,
Yeah.
Then here's another picture of the long version. You can go down another one. And then here's another version. I love that old front door and the path going up. The next one. So then there's another one that is shown often. That's when it was like a concession stand, convenience store. You can go to the next one. So just to put things in perspective, if you look at the mass of pretty much all the houses surrounding 8 Bank Street, take a look at the houses on the bank, take a look at all the houses in Codfish Park. 8 Bank is and would be, after the proposed design, one of the smallest buildings in Codfish Park. And I've likened this to a theater before. If the water is the stage, we're on the ground floor in the very back seat. And for some reason, we're getting a lot of complaints from the balcony about how this is interrupting the view. It's been difficult for the Sconset Advisory Board to witness what has been passed through the HDC as far as new construction, the complicated designs, the scale, the height, and so forth. But that's the system that we're working within. And so, to then sort of, I feel like the concern for height and massing is misguided. The 2 new constructions here that I've sort of penciled in are, you could go to the next shot, are really affecting the view a lot more than 8 Bank Street would. This is a view of, the biggest, widest sort of break in between houses. This is between the RVs and eastward look, looking over Beach Street towards the water. And you can see, what's been approved and what is now being built. And, in relation to everything else, this really does set into the hill and the landscape and the profile of the bank and the hill in relation to the other houses much better than the newer examples. I think that's the last, is that the last slide? Oh, so here's the height comparison again, except now we're one more foot lower. So with 15 Bank Street being at 23.5 feet and 10 Bank Street being at 22 feet, and then all these other houses that are down in Codfish Park, you can see how low this house is compared to other buildings in Codfish Park. You can take into consideration the height elevation, but even with that take into consideration, this is still lower than many structures in Codfish Park. And also it has the backdrop of the bank, unlike the other freestanding houses in the neighborhood. That's my response. And I look forward to hearing the comments of the Sconset Advisory Board, which I appreciate. Appreciate your comments and thoughtfulness and your dedication to Sconset as a village and a historic site, and your long time insight into the community and your service to the community for reviewing all the structures that are designed and proposed for there. Thank you.
Thank you, Angus. Any of the Sconset Advisory Board members, I guess now's our, if you'd like to add to this, please, please speak up. Clement.
Can anyone other than the advisory board speak?
Yes, I had a comment, Joe Arve. Angus, your point's well taken, and I think we've reached a tipping point. I think that's the situation you're in, is we've reached a tipping point with the buildings you're showing, which are also way out of scale, in my opinion. And now we're faced with another one at a critical point, and that's why you're getting the type of reaction that you're getting. If it was all by itself and everything else was still small, I don't know, maybe the reaction would be different. But as I said, we've reached a tipping point.
May I say something as well, Rob?
If you please identify yourself.
Of course, this is Michelle Rosen. So Angus, I think the difference, and your points are all well taken, the difference is that the property that you're proposing these modifications to stands on its own. It's not part of a block of units that sort of blend in together. It stands on its own in a very unique piece of property. It's sort of isolated in and of itself. It sort of draws a tremendous amount of attention. And then you're suggesting to make it even bigger. People walk around it. It's very, it's a focal point. It's already a focal point, and you're suggesting making it bigger, blocking specific points of views and advantages. So I don't think it can be grouped together with the other units, with the other buildings. That's my perspective.
Okay, thank you. Anybody from this advisory board? Caroline?
Can we speak? Can you
I'm
hear us?
I'm having trouble.
This is Caroline Ellis.
All right, Caroline, thank you.
I'm on the advisory board. I would address what Joe is saying, Arve, that for months and probably I'd say years, the Sconset Advisory Board has worked very, very hard, week after week after week, to try to keep Codfish Park looking like Codfish Park. We understand, thank you for quoting, you know, our objectives, the definition of our organization. But week after week, people bring in structures that have nothing to do with Codfish Park. And it is a tipping point, but what I feel is that every single time somebody comes in with a real tall building, and you can see how tall they were much taller as proposed. The details had nothing to do with Nantucket, with Codfish Park, and we have worked week after week to try to get the owners and their representatives to look at small details that make all the difference to a Sconseter. I understand that this is a change, but as I look at Codfish Park, and I lived at 13 Front Street for more than 20 years, I think that this is a lovely change. The railing to Codfish Park goes halfway up. It hasn't drawn in here. I think that the excitement over the height of this is disproportionate to the amount.
No.
So I know you don't agree with me, but I'm speaking now. And I think that every detail is lovely. I think the other houses are very disappointing. So that's how I feel.
Thank you, Caroline.
I don't know.
Clement, if you care to say something?
I would, Rob. I think Caroline has talked about our frustration in trying to be heard. The little house that I can't remember which beach street it is, but the two of them that are across from each other, we did meet and we tried to say no demolition. We tried to say no height restrictions. We tried a lot of battles on that, and it seems we were overrun or over. I mean, they listen, and maybe we got something better out of it than we should have, but then was the result. The results are staggeringly obvious now when everybody sees them. So I do understand that you're hitting the tipping point, but my feeling is that something is going to happen with this property. And I know you're looking at the plans as they are now, but I feel that if this gets turned over to anybody other than Angus, we could be really, really sorry. So I think his design is very adorable. I understand that it sticks up, but I was just walking Front Street. Well, I walk Front Street almost every day, and that new roof line is taller than anything else down there. And that I'm not quite sure how that all happened, but that's upsetting. And I know we're trying to keep Front Street low, but we actually legally have no way to tell people what they can't do on their own property until we have some guidelines by which the SAB can go. So where we can say 20 feet is the absolute tops in Codfish Park. And, we're trying to work towards that. I understand that the engineering aspects too. I mean, I think we have to be very careful about that. And, are tree roots holding the bluff up? To what extent are they necessary? When we disturb the toe, what happens? I know that one of the houses down there on Beach Street, they had to put in a lot of steel beams because they ran into water when they were digging their basements. So that all of that upsets the ground flow. So I think careful engineering of what this does to the bank will definitely be required. But as for the design, I think it's charming. I think it's in keeping with Codfish Park. And it's not, horizontal, so it doesn't cover the entire property. There's still grass left. There's still that little corner that we all walk around. So that is my feeling about this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Clement. This is Rob. I'd like to reiterate what Clement just said, but also as a board, as a board, we take in generalities about the neighborhood. And obviously this is Codfish Park is its own neighborhood. And I would even argue that there are neighborhoods within the neighborhood of Codfish Park. And when you look at all the changes that have happened in Codfish Park over the years, this is so unlike a lot of the more modern things that have been allowed to be put up down there. And I kind of disagree with the tipping point aspect because it's already been tipped in many areas. And I'll just say again, I appreciate Angus bringing it down a foot. And I don't know if it's possible to bring it down even more. That might be great, but in comparison to other happenings in Codfish Park, I believe this is minimal. And that's really all we can, those kinds of associations and kind of personal judgments are the ideas that we're allowed to pass on to the HDC and not policy. So that's all I have to say. Thank you. All right, I will, if anybody else would like to speak, please do. And if not, we will finish up with this item.
Can you hear us? We'd like to speak. Can you hear us?
Yes, and please identify yourself. And
this is Heather Garland, and I'm Sherry Kelly. We're at 5 Broadway.
I'm also at 19 New Street and was lucky enough to have Angus design our addition to our house, which if you drive by, you'd never know that there was an addition put on the house. And I feel that we work very hard to keep the scale right. And what disturbs me about this house is it keeps being compared to the other houses in Codfish Park. It's not like the other houses in Codfish Park. It's built into the bank.
Tiny lot.
And it's not the right scale for the property, for the setting, and it affects both Front Street and Codfish Park. It's a lovely design. It's in the wrong location.
thank you very much. Anybody else before I?
Well, Rob, this is Clement. I'd just like to say that I love seeing this enthusiasm from everybody, and clearly we would love to hear more comments from the public at the SAB meeting. So please, whatever happens here, always chime in and give us your opinions, because it's valuable, and we are a community and we appreciate everyone. So thank you all for showing so much concern.
Thank you, Clement, and I will amen to that. Okay, if there's no other speakers, I'll declare this particular hearing closed, and thank you everybody for coming. If we can move back to Bunker Hill Road, is there any representation for that?
I still don't see Joe Topham. We did reach out to his assistant Brenda, and we have not heard back from either of them at this time.
Okay, that's great, Kadeem. Well then, I'm going to ask on behalf of the entire board if we can be sure to see this before it goes to the HDC.
Certainly, but give me 1 second. I want to make sure that we're not close to that. And since I have you guys here, so.
Yep.
You guys can all see the minutes with me and we can make an informed decision.
I like that.
So we have, so we have 7 Bunker Hill. The 2 applications are coming up. So if you look at the HCC agenda now.
Yep.
Tomorrow we'll get through new business. We'll get through old business 713, and we'll probably get halfway down new business 720. Like I assume we'll probably get to like 15, probably 13 Low Beach Road or so. That means on Thursday, they'll get another 8 done. So it's close, but I think, yeah, we'll be fine for next Monday based off this agenda right now.
Okay, great. And if that can happen, the SAB can look at these and submit comments to the HDC.
Certainly. So I'll be sure to put this back on the agenda for next Monday. If 58 Baxter is ready by then, it'll also be on the agenda and there'll potentially be other applications, but that's where we are at this moment.
Great. Thank you very much.
Rob,
Yeah.
Rob, this is Caroline.
Yes.
As part of this, I noticed that the historic barn that we've been trying to save is not on this. It was to be moved to this property. And I think that has to be linked back to the other application on Maury Lane.
I believe that was withdrawn, in which case we wouldn't link it back as it's no longer an application.
Caroline, this is Clement. If you haven't heard, I don't think it's been signed and closed, but Robin Reed is buying that back lot
Yes.
and keeping the barn.
Fabulous.
So this is a really, 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 really.
I
good
haven't. Why didn't
outcome.
somebody call me? Here I am. Oh, so upset. Okay, that's fabulous. That's the best outcome I can imagine.
Yes,
Other
I
than
agree.
my buying it. That would have been
Okay,
better.
all right. Okay, thank you, everybody.
Fabulous.
Yeah. There was one more piece of business I was going to ask. Oh, yeah, Kadeem, I'll ask this question and then I'm going to ask for us to approve our comments. The recording of this meeting we're in at this very moment, when will that be available?
So I will be emailing Francesca down to the town building, minutes after we get off this meeting, and she should have it up by this afternoon or tomorrow morning.
All right, perfect. Thank you very much.
Of course.
With that answer, I will take a motion to approve our comments for this meeting.
So moved.
Thank you, Caroline. All those in favor, Angus McLeod,
Aye.
Clement Durkis,
Aye.
Mary Lathrop will, she's not here. Caroline Ellis is a yes, Rob is a yes. Thank you all. Motion made, seconded, and unanimous. And I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved.
Thank you. All those in favor, Angus McLeod,
Aye.
Clement Durkis,
Aye.
Caroline Ellis,
Aye.
and Rob is an aye.
Fabulous.
All right, everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we will all talk soon.
All right. Thank you all. Take care. I will be ending the meeting, so you will all be logged out. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kadeem.